It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Chief, Bart Brunsheen.
Hey guys, this is the Chief and Judd, here to do another little war game review. It's a Columbia Games, and it's Pacific Victory. The designer is Tom Daglish. Sorry, I always not quite sure exactly how to say that. It's generally a two-person game, but you can go up to four. Have you ever played it with four?
No, just two.
Okay. We're talking a high-level strategic game. What was the time limit on it, Judd?
It says 2 to 4. If you begin, you better be pretty experienced to do that one. It's probably closer to 6 if you played the full 41 and you're not really well versed in it. The production part takes a little bit of time.
They have some breakdowns where you can do the full campaign, 41 to 45. You can start in 43, and don't they have one? Do they 42. Have one more? 42. So there's some things that shorten it up. I think as I play it in the future, I would prefer to do the full campaign, because that way you've got the Japanese. We'll come back. Let's go in and take a closer look at the components, and then we can get into that when we come back, because I'll keep running on at the mouth. All right. Here's the slip cover for Pacific Victory. Now tell me that doesn't stir something in you. Okay, it does for me. Now this is just the theme. If you like World War II and you love the Pacific, this is going to be a very accessible game for you. Slipcover, standard Columbia Games deal here. Let me slide this out of the way so you can see the map. Very nice map, let me tell you. I'm sorry I'm having some glare issues. It's a very thick card stock, and I usually will have this under plexiglass when I'm playing, and that holds it flat, but obviously I'd get tons of glare if I did that. So I've tried to get it as flat as I can, but it's picking up some glare. The game is a block war game. For those that don't know what that is, it's very difficult in war games to show the fog of war. A lot of war games, you have perfect information, and it makes it real gamey. What Columbia Games does very well, along with other games, is that when you have units that are on the board, unless you join into the same hex with the opposing side, you don't know what they are. So you may have an idea, or you may have several units that all meet up in an area. You flip them down, you get to see what their strength are. I'll go into the actual unit here in a second, and you'll conduct whatever kind of combat you have. But you may have a retreat. All the different blocks, there's usually more than one, will all flip back up, and they'll all go their own way. So now you may know, hey, there's a aircraft carrier over there, or two of them, but there might be a battleship with them and a submarine, and there might be some military units that are on board. So you just don't have perfect information on what's going on as things are moving around in the Pacific theater. You get glimpses and you get glimmers, kind of like how they had intel back in the old days. And it makes for a very nice, block games make for a very nice fog of war system. I'm going to go through game turns real quick so you got them. You're going to have an initiative phase. Both players will just roll 2d6 dice. Ties will always go to the allies, and this is to display the edge that the allies had based in code breaking. Whoever wins the initiative has the choice of being the first player or the second player. It's almost the exact same thing. Basically, the first player, when they move, they have 3 types of movement that they can do. They can do a strategic move, which I'll show you in a little bit, a rebase, and an operational move. If you go as the second player, it's pretty much exactly the same thing with some restrictions on strategic attacks, and there is no rebasing to a battle hex. You then go into your combat phase, and there's a particular order in which that goes down, and I'll show you just a tidbit of that without getting too mired in the details. And after you're done with the combat, you'll move into a logistics phase. This is crucial. Like a lot of war games, supply is huge here, and supply was huge in the Pacific. And you've got to make sure that units are in supply. If they get cut off or are out of supply, there's some pretty drastic things that happen. An unsupplied unit can't receive replacements, and they will immediately take attrition damage. You'll then determine available production points, build any new units or add steps to existing units that are in a position that you can do that to, and then your next turn begins. I've got a mixture here, just some Japanese infantry, Japanese battleship, Allied air, B-17, love it, and we've got the Enterprise, a carrier. First thing I want to show you is their step number. The number is their strength. It's also the number of dice they're going to roll. So if this Japanese infantry unit was attacking, it would roll 4 dice. Right now I've got the Enterprise knocked down from 4. He's at a little bit weaker strength. He would only roll 3. The battleship only gets 3 at its maximum. Air is 4, and you can see it can reduce down. So if you have a very weak unit, he may be only rolling 1 die. Okay, you say, okay, I know how many dice I'm rolling. The next deal is these little numbers and letters in the corners. So if this infantry unit, let's just say he was fighting another infantry unit, or if he wanted to try to defend against this bomber if they were coming in, his chance to defend against the bomber would be an A1. He gets to roll 4 dice, but he has to roll a 1, and a 1 will end up doing a hit. So imagine there's flak. The G2 is if he was fighting another infantry unit, he would have to roll a 1 or a 2. The M is just how many hexes the unit can move. So he's only going to be able to move 1. So let's move over to the Japanese battleship. He's got a better defensive rating in the air. So he's only rolling 3 die at this point in time, or 3 dice, but he needs a 1 or a 2 in order to hit. His naval power is awesome. 1, 2, 3, or a 4 on a 6-sided die, and he's going to do damage to the Enterprise. Movement is 2, and his ground level is 3. He's got those big guns. He could come in and just pound an infantry unit on the coastline and soften them up for the infantry unit. You can see the air unit's kind of interesting. He's an A2, a naval 2, and a ground 2. So wherever you want to use your B-17, hey, go for it. It's pretty much the same thing. It only moves 1 hex, however. So there you go. You got your steps. When you take a hit, you're going to reduce in steps. So if this carrier takes a hit, he's going to go down to 2. So now he's weakened. He can only roll 2 dice on the next attack. And you can get them reduced down to 1, and if you reduce them all the way, comes off the board, you can always rebuild it later. So it's a very simple combat system, but because you've got all these little different options, they were able to layer in that, you know, the Enterprise, it can have airplanes that can go up and defend against an air attack. Its naval power is really its airplanes going out and attacking another ship. However, it can go support ground troops as well. So very nice, very well done here. All right, I'm showing the big map again. I'm not going to set up each of the scenarios or even all the blocks, but you can do 2 things. On the scenarios, there are some pre-planned locations where you can take the ships that you have and you can put them on the islands where they were at, which is kind of modeling the historic side of things. You can also just do a free deployment and you can play it any way you want. There's some controversy on the victory point system in the game. A lot of people feel that it's not really a fair fight for the Japanese. The system is set up so that the Japanese person playing the Japanese is going to continue to kind of struggle and not just turtle in, that they're going to be pushing out and making attacks. The nice thing is the victory point system, I've read a couple, there's some very simple tweaks that can be done that I may try at some point in time, but I haven't fiddled with the victory point system. And again, if you want to play the Pacific Theater and you want to do it in a session, a 4 to 5 hour session, you want to do the whole thing from December 41 to June 45, I believe this is your ticket, or at least it's been mine so far. All right, we're back. I'm going to give you again, I am usually leaning towards more of a tactical level game. This is more higher level strategic, but I love the Pacific. There's not a whole lot of games done on World War II Pacific battle. You get a nice tug of war in the full scenario if you're starting off, obviously, with the Japanese strong in 41, attack on Pearl Harbor, and then them basically as the Americans get stronger, they're trying to hold the line as they come back. What are some of your pluses and minuses on it, Judd?
Pluses is the combat system. Some people, I love the Hammer of the Scott system. Some people get a little tired of the whole ABC thing and like something a little different. So this is a really souped up version, specific order, everybody firing a certain order. And then you have, do I want my bombers to go after the ground units, or do I want them to go after the naval units? So the combat's really, really my very favorite part of it. The strategic level, it's your personal preference. I really love strategic level, and I love the Pacific. So it is my favorite overall game by Columbia.
All right, block game. Do you have any Pacific games that are non-block that you?
Yes, I have Victory in the Pacific, the old Avalon Hill Classic. Very abstract. It takes 2 hours or so to play the whole thing. Very simple. I got Empire of the Sun. I'm a big fan of 20-some hours. Beast. I have not played Fire in the Sky. It's along those lines. So if you're looking for something in between, you don't quite want that much detail and you don't want it that abstracted, this is a real good game for that.
If you're a gamer out there that's not been heavy into block games or into war games in general, but you have an interest in particularly, obviously, the Pacific theater of World War II, I personally think this is a really accessible system for someone that wants to get into a war game that's going to be heavier. I mean, if you've got Memoir, it's way heavier than Memoir in that. This is a higher level strategic game where you're moving air and ground and naval units, and the naval units are broke out. It's all right. Okay.
How you want to just
do it?
Okay. The other nice things about it is that it only has 10 pages of rules. It is heavier than your Hammer of the Scots 8-page rule system. For only 2 more pages, it's more meaty, but it encourages you with a fairly simple rule set. You will take the historical island hopping path across the Pacific. Also, the other nice feature that you don't get in some games is you can actually have the option to try to go after Australia and India. Very tough. You probably won't do it, but you're more than welcome to try.
Yeah, so you're not stuck. You're not hemmed in by only what happened historically. Yes. You can try to change it up. And I'll tell you, if you're not a quote unquote war gamer, but you're interested in the Pacific theater of World War II, I think this is an extremely accessible game. Again, you're talking 10 pages of rules. That's not a lot for a war game. The block system gives you that fog of war that so many games struggle to, especially on a big old strategic map. Although there are some, intricate things that are in there, nothing's difficult, nothing's so abstracted that it doesn't make sense. So if you're looking for something accessible and you haven't tried a war game, or you're not a big war gamer but you want the theme, I think this is a great game for you to do that'll fit that need or that niche. All right. Chief and Judd from the Dice Tower. See you guys later.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.